Zimbabwe cash crisis worse. Talking about Venezuela once again. Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 thing right there called monetary indebtedness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RT News updates. And as you can tell from today's title, we're going to be talking about debt and the creditworthiness of our country, as a agency out in Asia just recently downgraded the creditworthiness of our country. And so I have about 2 articles I want to share with you dealing with this issue here. But before I dive into those, as always, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button to be notified of future RTD live talks, as well as interviews and news updates. And also click the notification tab so you can be informed when these things are posted. And if you're new to RTD altogether, I want to encourage you to visit the Rethinking a Dollar University page, where I put together all my prior interviews dealing with monetary matters as well as precious metal matters and things of that nature. So let's dive into today's articles. So the first article here is from the South China Morning Post, and it's in the economy section, and it's entitled, "Is the U.S. a bigger debt risk than Russia and Botswana? A China's rating agency thinks so." And the very next one here is from Sputnik, and it says, "Chinese media explain how Russia and China can escape the dollar domination." And as always, before I actually dive into these, the goal is to just skim the surface a little bit, give you something to think about, give you something to read, and of course at the very end, share my thoughts on this matter. So let's dive into the very first one. So here we have, is the U.S. a bigger debt risk than Russia and Botswana? And the Chinese agency thinks so. So give you an idea what's going on here. As of last year, some American credit agencies decided to downgrade China's creditworthiness. And so it looks like they're doing the same thing in a form of retaliating. And it all has to do with the recent remarks on the idea of the U.S. Treasuries not being purchased, or the purchasing of U.S. Treasury slowed down just a little bit. And so the fact that you here have more China and more U.S. Conversations such as these on the subjects of debt and the treasuries lets you know that there are some things brewing behind the scenes. So, give you an idea what's going on. It says a Chinese credit rating agency has cut its outlook and ratings for the United States to triple B plus, putting the debt repayment capacity of the world's biggest economy below that of Russia and Botswana, on par with Colombia and Peru. It says Beijing-based Donggang Global said it was cutting the U.S. rating from an A and giving it a negative outlook because the U.S. federal government's declining capacity to repay debt, a situation worsened by tax cuts. And then next here it says, Moody's and S&P enraged Beijing last year when they downgraded China's sovereign credit rating. In apparent retaliation, China's Ministry of Finance did not hire any rating agency when it sold its $2 billion in bonds in Hong Kong in October. And it says, its downgrade for the U.S. came just hours after a phone call between Chinese President Xi Jinping and the U.S. Donald Trump. It says 4 reasons why China's credit rating downgrade matters. It says the U.S. government has never defaulted on its debt, but Dong's assessment pegged it as highly dangerous place for bond investors. It says Dong says Trump's tax bill plan would widen the country's fiscal gap and inevitably increase the credit risk of the federal government, suggesting Russia and Botswana are safer bets with an A rating. The idea that is brought into question as to whether our country is able to repay its debts is of concern to all of us, because there's no way that the United States can actually default on its debt when it's actually holding on to the current reserve monetary printing press, where it can actually reprint as much as needed to pay off its debts. Then the question will be is, what will those things being printed, what will those things be worth as far as those that hold the treasuries and what you can purchase, as well as those that hold dollars? So that's just something to consider. And then to play into this even more, the next article, which shouldn't be a surprise, is the idea that the countries such as China and Russia, and they're talking about how to go around the dollar or to continue to de-dollarize, is something that plays right along with this idea of the creditworthiness of our country and whether or not our creditors will continue to fund our deficit spendings, which will widen the gap, as mentioned in our prior article. So the very next one here. Hey there, just want to take a quick minute to interrupt this video to remind you to visit the rethinkingadollar.com website, where you get a chance to see all of my postings as well as educational resources, and as well as visit the RTD store, where I have some free material for you as well as some t-shirts. And if you're interested in being more of a blessing to Rethinking a Dollar, I want to encourage you to visit the RTD donation page, where I have a couple links there for you to contribute to this alternative media of work. Other than that, let's get back to the show. It's from Sputnik, and it says Chinese media explain how Russia and China can escape dollar domination. So, give you an idea what's going on here. It says Chinese businesses news analyst and portal BW Chinese has outlined how, in addition to the petro-yuan, China and its Russian partners can go about creating a real global alternative to the U.S. dollar. It says, according to the portal, Chinese and Russia's use of the yuan-dominated crude oil futures will help promote ascendancy of the renminbi. And although China's weight in the crude oil market is not by itself sufficient to shake the global dominance of the petrodollar, its status as the world's largest crude oil importer would certainly help solidify this petro-yuan's position. Then it goes on and says, Ronan Manley, a precious metal expert at Singapore-based precious metals dealership operator, recently told RT that China and Russia's stockpiling of the precious metal can be seen as part of an international trade strategy bent on escaping the grip of the dollar, which isn't backed by anything. It says, according to the Chinese business portal notes, the fact that two countries are rapidly building up their gold reserves and considering a return to the gold standard are signs that the global hegemony of the dollar may be entering its twilight stage. The idea that once again we have debt, we have the question of the creditworthiness of a country being brought into play, and the idea that more and more countries, predominantly Russia and China, which are always in the alternative media spotlight for being countries that are looking to de-dollarize, really brings into question this whole idea of how much debt is sustainable before enough is enough. And so while you have all the Asian nations making plans on the hereafter when things decide to shift completely out east, here we are in the Western world focusing on how the Dow will reach 26,000 probably today, and how the tax reform plans and spending bills is coming to play, and so many things going on that are becoming a distraction in comparison to what's happening on a global scale, with the idea that all these plans made out east will impact those living in the Western world like we've never known before. So this is just more news, more things of what's happening in the news that are not really being mainstream topics. And so just want to encourage you to take some time to read more of these articles for yourself so that you become aware of what's happening in this world surrounding your money, the Federal Reserve note. And then also, I would love to hear your thoughts on this matter here. Feel free to leave me a comment below. As always, if you're new to RTD, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button along with the notification tab. Look forward to bringing you more news updates. Until then, see you later.